Okay, good afternoon, folks. 12:30, July 24th, 2018. I'm going to try and make this one as quick as possible. I need to be out of here at 1:10. So oil on the day is, and by the way, we're continuing with our earnings a review of our 100 equities that we cover on our swing trading platform. So I'll get through as many as I can today, and we're going to continue until we're done, probably about 10 days. And if you look at yesterday's video, that'll give you an explanation of what our plan is. And there's a report and video going out to members every day until we're done. And our intent is to leg into these trades significantly, like we did for the first half of the season. And so this is our next phase. Oil, right up against resistance. That horizontal gray line is the algorithmic resistance area. And it's trading 68.81 on FX US oil. The targets for the downtrend, you see them there on the chart, and then there's an uptrend scenario. So there's one for the down channel, or two for the down channel Tuesday and Wednesday, and two for the up channel scenario. So they're parking it for the end of the day, I think, right in between the two, because at 4:30 today, the numbers come out, and then 10:30 tomorrow morning, actual EIA confirmation. So that's oil. We'll go and take a look at SPY. So of course I'm going to trade oil either way, depending on where it goes, which channel. And I expect this to be one of the larger oil trades I've had in a long time. The S&P, so SPY, this is a 60-minute chart, got right up near the target. And now it's backed off a little bit. Yesterday's video I had said it's along up and over 281-ish, and your next resistance, it hit it perfect at 282. Wow, it's at 282.46. It hit 282.56. Didn't get to the most bullish target today, but close. So that's a fairly active market. Your upside resistance now is going to be 283.80 area, and then after that, if it gets up over that main resistance, then you're 285.24. Your intraday support is sitting right around 281.10. Your main support for the quad is at 278.64. If it loses steam here, you can look for 278.60 area on about the 2nd of August. If it builds steam, its moderately bullish target then on the 2nd of August would be 289.07. This model needs to be updated, so the most upper target isn't there, but it's way, way up. So if it got super bullish, you'd be in at 299.53. There's going to be a mid-quad target in here at 294.25. So those are your important resistance areas if it gets bullish, and that's the S&P. So I'm just going to alarm this real quick. 283.80. Alongside trade. By the way, the day trade in RIOT today just went fantastic. I copied the live alerts to my personal Twitter feed if anybody wants to take a look at how we traded it. And then on the downside, short trigger would be at 278.65. And I'll go on to the next chart. The dollar, so DXY, is trading. This is the DXY currency index. This is the algorithm model. The main pivot for this trading structure is at 94.54. It's just above it, 94.65, hitting a trend line, and it's got upper serious resistance at this light blue downtrending line. If it gets up over that, then you can look to this trending line, which brings it in around 97 bucks, 96.50 to 97 bucks, depending on the trajectory. So that's the dollar. Oh, on the downside, if it loses, its next main support in the structure is 93.47, and it's got a channel, algorithmic channel wall here that you could watch for. its upper channel wall is here. So that channel and that's the bottom of the channel, that's the top of the channel. All charted well in advance of trade instead of after trade. Well, in this case, about 16 months ago. CELG, there was a special report on this done some time ago, and right now it's trading right up against resistance. It hit 87.84, so it hit the downtrending quad wall, which is a Fibonacci wall resistance. And if it gets up through there, then your next resistance is in at about 88.70, then in the 91.60 area, and then its main resistance is 96.10. And that target would be for July 25th. It's looking more like it hits this target. They're not marked targets right now, 86.12. This chart needs to be updated. So that's CELG. Earnings are in 2 days. Okay, so I'm just reviewing these reports on CELG from past. So the next one, well, RIOT, we don't have to take a look at. I had entries in the 730s to I don't know, maybe 760s, and released all the way up, and re-entered on the pullbacks and released on the way up, and missed the top by maybe 4 pennies. But I released on the way up. It was a great day trade. Just look at my personal feed to see how that went, and that was in RIOT, RIOT. I even put the main resistance area publicly on my feed. I'll take a look here. So if you're swinging it, I put out a freebie for everybody. 970s is your main swing resistance on RIOT. Arrowhead Pharmaceuticals, earnings in 14 days, up over its main pivot, trading 1661 on the day. I took a trade, first entry on a swing, a little higher on the day. It's off a little bit, but it's a structured trade for me. And my worst scenario is a target here of around 1630. So, if it trades in this structure here, if it loses that main support's in around 1625. I expect it to trade in structure, and I'll just add, I'm in 30%, so when it hits support, I would add and then add on its way up into the target. I've got this one alarmed, so I don't have to. Downside, main structural support is down here at $9, but for it to get there would be an extreme sell-off. That quad wall at the bottom in a sell-off is my targeted support. The quad wall up here, it's the diagonal Fibonacci trend lines on the trading structure, is my main resistance in the $20 range. So I expect it to trade in here. And being that it's mid, I'll even mark it here for you really quick just to give you an idea how these work. On yesterday's video, I explained this in much more detail, but this is its current structure. So it's just above its pivot in the current structure. So that's why I went 1/3. If I have a sell-off, then I can wait for it to dump to here, enter another third, halfway enter another third, then start releasing into that target that comes in November. If I get up and over and it holds structure, it's a little more difficult to get my entries in, because to get full sizing in, you almost need a pullback if you're being a disciplined swing trader. So going back to yesterday's video, I think the last one we covered was ITCI, and that's from a report that dates back, the last swing trading report that I'm reviewing right now dates back to June 12th, Tuesday, June 12th, if you're following along. The next one is, I think GTIX. I'll just see. I got to take up where we left off yesterday. So ITCI, SENS was yesterday. And so now G1 Therapeutics, GTHX is next. I think we have a model on this one, so I'm going to bring that up. And I will say it again quick, that these are hard to cover quick or fast because these models take time to load. But we'll do our best here. Okay, so this GTHX earnings 19 days, G1 Therapeutics. Its indicators on this chart structure on the daily, the squeeze momentum just turned green, which is good. MACD just turned up, but it's a bit flat, trending flat, and stock RSI is trending up. So the buyers are coming in. The issue is that it's at mid-quad primary resistance. This thing can really get going when it gets going. So definitely don't ignore it. But it's not the easiest stock to trade, but if you get in right, we've done really well with it. 49.01 is my buy side alert here, so I'm going to mark that. And then your support, main structured support, is way down at 44.40, but there is a quad wall here, so that structure I'm watching. Now it is it is trending down, which is interesting. If it gets up over previous highs, this is a big long. It's going to be a tricky trade. It's 46, I'm going to call it 46.60 area as a buy trigger. I'll pull back. So GTHX will watch close as we get closer to earnings, see if we get a pullback or a break. And we'll go on to the next chart here. EXTR. This is one heck of a chart. Not for the faint of heart, so you got to be very careful trading this. I've done well with it, but you know, when I say stuff like that, a lot of people give me a hard time in private messages, like, Kurt, you just talk about winning. Well, I actually talk about the losses too. It's just if you check our record, check our alert feeds, you'll see we lose, but we don't lose often. Anyway, we've done well on this one. It is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. Caution, caution, just on its structure. Okay, squeeze momentum is green. MACD is trending up. Stock RSI is really high and it's starting to come down. And your trend on the chart is down. This short side was a nice alert. And it just about touched the quad wall and bounced. But you know what? It's got a target down here of September 5th of 716. Your Intra support 849, trading 878. Doesn't look great. It's got earnings in 15 days. If it gets going, its upside resistance is 929, and its bullish target 995 September 5th. I'd be extremely cautious about how you trade this, but just to make sure I've covered all bases here, I'm gonna alarm this just in case it gets going. If it does, 932 is my buy side target. My support, I'm going to go down to the next support at 833 area. If it loses that support, that's a big short. So that's EXTR. Okay, next one is edit. There's a special report out on edit in the last few months. So we do have a nice algorithm model, generation 1, simple model on edit. It trades in the model really, really well. It's bearish right now. Squeeze momentum is trending down in red, MACD trending down, stock RSI trending down. So it is being sold off. But man, does it ever hit these targets perfect. So it's very easy to trade as long as you use patience and do it properly. It's sitting right on a mid-quad support and the 200 MA right now. That's really interesting. Earnings in 19 days. This is a really interesting setup. You can see the channel. That channel was charted in advance, and trade has basically proven the channel out. And it's hit the mid-quad target all the way up. Talk about beautiful symmetry. So that's edit. So what are you watching for? You're watching for a downside break and then into this quad wall. If it doesn't bounce at the quad wall, then your next, so that quad wall is at 30.53. Your next support, main supports I'm talking here, is 28. And then your quad wall down here, intraday would be around 25.55, but it'll trend, right? So you've got a target down here of September 29th at 27.93. Very likely it does what it has done in the past. It'll drop down and then come through the target, up, come through the target, drop down, come through the target. So you'll want to watch this one really close because there's going to be some serious upside to this potentially, right, in the channel. So it's a trend trade, but you've got the advantage of an algorithmic model here. Again, this is charted in advance of trade getting there, which gives you a huge advantage of people that chart after the trade gets there and have to figure out, oh, there was a channel there or whatever, right? Okay, so that's an upside target. I just want to watch this one close. So I'm setting some alarms here. 31, call this one 3130-ish. I really, really want to follow this one because earnings will be a fantastic predictable trade inside of this model. So that's EDIT. Okay, the next one is Intrepid Potash, IPI. I've done a little bit of trading in this one in the last year, done okay with it. Haven't watched it close enough to really get legged in, but I liked what I was seeing. I haven't reviewed it for weeks now, so let's take a look. So this is a weekly chart, IPI. Got up against that 200, so I was waiting for it to breach that 200. It's just not there. Earnings in 9 days. Stock RSI is about to turn up. That's a really good place for the stock RSI. MACD isn't low enough, in my opinion, and squeeze momentum isn't low enough. It'd be nicer to see a dive on MACD, but anyway, that 200 MA, that pink line is what you're going to watch for. Up above that, it could build structure. So MACD's trending down on the weekly. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work with this 200 MA. IPI crossing the 200 MA. I have so many trade setups that I don't have to get aggressive with it. So that's IPI. When I'm coaching, a lot of my students in coaching ask me, how do I get that success rate? And it's data, right? Having enough setups at your disposal to be able to pick the triple A's all the time. Now, I'm guilty sometimes of picking the B's and the A's, but you want the best of the best. So the more data you have available to you in structured trading models, the better probability you have. It's pretty simple science. Just a lot of people don't want to apply themselves to learn it, and they don't want to apply themselves to even study the reports after we've provided them for them. So the upside main pivot that we had previously reported to our members in the 246 area is held all the way through. Fantastic short every time it gets up there. The only problem for that scenario is that eventually it's going to break, but man, it's done well. So, if you see trade get up there, you want to pay attention. So I'm just going to alarm this here at 240. Gets up there, I'll re-short it. Up and over, then it becomes long structure as long as it holds, and you can see how it hasn't held. So that's a very structured chart. We just don't have a model for it, but that main pivot proved out to be correct. So we calculated that for members, and it's proved out well. SOHU. So SOHU, I'll tell you, about a year ago I looked at this, I think it was, I don't know. But anyway, this is a weekly. I looked at it and I thought, geez, if this thing gets going. But look at that, it's just trended down. Sure, it gets, it gets some reversals. Is it looking like a bottom? Man, I don't know. It's a daily chart. Stock R size at the bottom. MACD is still trending down. Squeeze momentum starting to come up. Earnings are right away, and so it's iffy. Could this be the turn on earnings? Maybe 6 days. I'd be extremely cautious. I'm going to alarm it. Shoot. Add alert. Dang. So crossing 20 MA, and if it does, I'll take a look at it for structure. I could go with the MACD, but I'm not going to. Okay, so that's SOHU. PDLI. So PDL Biopharma. This is an interesting chart. When you're doing this kind of work, you're working on the structured models. Some of the charts, intrigue you because they have potential return inside of the structure that, the average person that doesn't have a structured chart in front of them won't understand. And so that's kind of cool. So the short side did work. These white arrows are buy sell triggers. The short side did work. We never did get down to the buy trigger. So it's 50, 20, and 200 MA are its resistance areas. Next resistance on its fib swing trading wide time frame is 292, then 305, and then 321 is your big one. So it's been trading this gap, and that's what's interesting to me, because I thought, we might go here. It didn't. It gapped up and didn't go. So now, we got a coil on a series of fractals, and anyway, earnings are in 12 days. If this thing gets up over its 200 MA, I'm interested. So PDLI over its 200 MA. I'm going to set an alarm there, and I'm interested at that point. Next chart, ESPR. So I think it's pronounced Esperion Therapeutics. When this thing dumped, it really dumped. We nailed that alert in a big way. I was going to trade the washout, never did, I don't think. Maybe I did. Can't remember. Anyway, let's take a look at how this chart's coming along. So this is the washout that I was going to trade. I was fortunate I never got legged into this one. I know that for sure. 15 days. I mean, the trade would have been okay, but not great. 15 days to earnings. Oh, look at that. MACD is about to turn up. So that's interesting. That's a weekly structure, so that's a big deal. Squeeze momentum starting to turn up. Stock RSI turned up. On top of its 200 MA still on the weekly. It's looking better. Main resistance 49.60-ish. Trading 43.35. This isn't a bad bet to the upside, to that 49.60 area. Then your 20 MA and your 50 MA come next on the weeklies, so that's going to be serious resistance. But I wouldn't doubt it gets that 49.60, so I'm going to alarm this 44.63. I can get a trade in here, I'm going to take it. So over 44.63, I take a good close look for a long side trade to 49.60 area. On the downside, there really isn't support because the structure would be broke. 33.41, 30.58-ish, 31-ish, all ish. So that's ESPR. The next chart is LPSN, live person. It's been very active for us. We do have somewhat of a model built out here, really simple, not even a Gen 1, but it's enough to help me trade it. You'll find once you know how to do this, you'll model on the fly, right, intraday while you're trading, and you'll find the time zones that work good. This is on the daily, this particular one. This has been so perfectly structured. Anyway, the squeeze momentum's up, MACD is trending up, stock RSI is really high, so caution on that stock RSI. Earnings in 8 days, so that makes sense for the stock RSI to be high. The bulls have definitely bought into earnings. Its main resistance, though, you have to be very, very careful around 25. Hit 24.35 today. So I'm not interested until it's up over that 25.10-ish area. Its support is in around 20.40 is the main support I'd watch. So I'm watching for a break over the 25 area. Its main support is down here in that 2040 area, and then 1950. I'm really not interested on a pullback buy. Not right now, anyway. Maybe if it got to the 20 MA. That's a bullish play. Buy sell triggers are marked here. Now, there is a main resistance here at 25.90. So your main algorithmic resistance is 25.90. Main algorithmic support 20.40. Main algorithmic mid pivot 23.15. And it's trading right above it right now. Next one is XOMA. Another one that gets lots of range. Day traders love it. You got to know what you're doing to trade it. But we have provided the marks for the trading, so that does help. So it sold off really heavy. That short side alert was near perfect. It dumped more than even the bottom target. It was hitting targets perfect before then. Whether it gets going or not, I don't know. This is a main pivot it's trading at right now, literally on the intraday. It could trend up and get into that target long term, but it's got challenges here. So what am I going to do? I think we're going to see some upside. 2670 areas where I'm going to alarm this. I think the next is up, just from the chart structure. And I don't really want to miss this one, so I'm going to alarm it a little early here. 2640. Once it gets into that area, I'm going to look at it really seriously. Actually, I could go a little lower on that, couldn't I? Well, no, that's good. I'd rather get the middle of the move instead of lose out. Okay, so that's it. That finishes off that particular swing trading report. There's 5 reports that we cycle every 5 weeks on the swing trading platform, encompassing 100 equities. Monday, yesterday, and today, we've covered the first of the 5 reports. So that means it's going to take me 10 days or so to get through them all. So this particular report is the June 12th swing trading report. It's July 24th right now, which makes sense because we cycle through them about every 5 weeks. There's 5 reports, 100 equities, 1 per week. We split them up in 2 parts, and so anyway. So we're on a decent schedule. If I can speed up, I will speed up, and I will get them done sooner. But for all intents and purposes, expect 10 days. I know yesterday I said 8 days. Initially, I thought 5 days, but to be realistic, it's probably 10 days. So that's today's report, unless I don't think I've seen anybody put any charts in. No, nobody's putting any charts in, so we'll call that midday. I'm going to go for a dive and see you in futures. Talk to you later. Thanks for coming out.